spent the last 12 years in New York, and now I'm here in Los Angeles, the St. Paul the Apostle in New York and St. Paul the Apostle in Los Angeles. So I'm still adjusting. I grew up in California up the coast, so I know what it's like. But after the hustle and bustle of New York, Los Angeles seems pretty quiet, partly because I heard it described as New York City flattened and spread out. So it feels different. But the ministry is the same. It's being with people and walking with them in their faith life and their prayer life and all the challenges and joys of what it means to be a child of God. Before I was a priest, I was a national park ranger in various national parks out west. I studied conservation of natural resources at the University of California at Berkeley. And right after that, I started working at Big Bend National Park in Texas, and then I off to Great Basin National Park and Redwood National Park, and then finally at Grand Canyon National Park. So I did that for about 8 years before coming to the priesthood. When I was working in the national parks, I never used to go to church or mass at all. The church was the Grand Canyon for me, you know, and it turned out to be that way because I am surprised. I think God spoke to me and said, I want you to do something more. And I don't know where it came to me, but I went to talk to the priest at the Grand Canyon. And he says, well, you know, why don't you start coming to mass? And I said, well, okay. So I started doing that, and here I am. The official name of the church is the Church of St. Paul the Apostle, but we call it St. Paul the Apostle Catholic Community to emphasize our pastoral commitment to bringing and building one community of faith. There's a long history of the Paulist mission being really alive in this parish, and it continues in some ways today. But today, a lot of what we do is trying to be engaging with the culture today that has so many competing values, but also just competing for screen time for time is to try to engage people with preaching and programs and activities that engage their faith and their life together at the same time. Most of my day is spent with people. That could be confession, it could be spiritual direction, it could just be listening to people and talking about where they need prayer, how to find God in their lives. And so I end up praying for people a lot in that way. And that's what we're here for. The biggest misconception about priesthood is that it's not an escape from the world. You're not holier than others. It's none of that. The conception about the priesthood is something set apart. It is true for prayer and leading people in community, especially at Mass, and struggling with the Word of God and trying to open it and say something that's hopeful, helpful, and challenging to people, all at the same time by loving people all at the same time. But that's all true. But what the priesthood does, it sends you right into the heart of some of the most difficult things that people go through. Some days I'm just really tired at the end of the day, but it's a good tired. I feel like, you know, I was able to be with someone today, and it's really, really powerful. I mean, when you sit with someone whose life has fallen apart, you know, because of a broken relationship or because of a crime they committed, and to be with them and listen to them and to hold them and to challenge them. It's very powerful. Or when people are dying or sick and there's no answers for these things. Or people getting married, you know, what is it that's going to get them through the commitment of life? Or someone's gay or lesbian and they feel like they're not welcome or that God has somehow abandoned them, and to say, no, we're walking with you. That's the great stuff about the priesthood. It is an immersion in the greatest things that make us human. And for all of us, it's the love and mercy that God has shown us and that we share with each other. It's so amazing.